ADHD was a curse until I learned these four things. And in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly the process that I went through when I was undiagnosed and how that was a curse for me. This ADHD trait, which I call hyperfocus, and now how I've used hyperfocus in my life now to make a dramatic difference and make it a superpower. So if that's something you're interested in learning about, this is what the video is going to be about. And feel free to subscribe as well if you want to see more videos like this. And let's get into it. So the first thing about this hyper focus superpower that we have is that it is a lot like Cyclops with the visor on, right? And when you see that Cyclops was first going through this phase of like he just found out he's a mutant or whatever, right? He needed something like a visor, but he didn't have one in the beginning, right? That was kind of what it was like for me being undiagnosed. And what's happened is, of course, he's been given by Beast this visor that he can use, right? And this visor helps him to control his attention and how he focuses his attention on whatever he wants to focus attention on, right? And this analogy that so I want to go through the problem that I faced as an ADHD who didn't know I had ADHD, so the unmanaged ADHD version, right? And when I was undiagnosed, what was happening for me is that I was very impulsive, easily distracted, and I was burning myself out as an artist. So I was doing art at the time. That was the thing that I was trying to pursue. That was the project I was trying to pursue. And when my following grew to 100K followers at that time, which was the early stages of 2024, just before my diagnosis was in July 2024. I was a manager as well, and I was trying to do commissions at the same time because I wanted to transition from a full time to doing art, right? But I was selling commissions for very low. It's like 100, maybe 150 per commission. So I was just really in that space of just feeling a bit like, I don't want to do it too expensive because people won't buy it. Like that's the kind of mentality I was going from, right? And also, what hyperfocus was for me at the time, obviously I didn't know, like I said, that I was diagnosed, is it was rumination, right? So rumination, for anyone that doesn't know, is when you focus on the negative, a lot of your attention on the negative part of what your internal dialogue is bringing up. And my internal dialogue was pretty strong at the time. I had a lot of self-doubt. I was very insecure. There was just a lot of vanity metrics that I was looking at as being the thing that's going to help me to feel better about myself. Like I'll do an art piece and I enjoyed the process of doing that art piece. I'd spend 2, 3 hours a day just drawing, having a really good hyper focus session, right? And just being in the moment and just enjoying the process of drawing, right? And then when I came to a point where it never felt like it was a finished piece for me ever. I never had this feeling like, yeah, finished, awesome. But the problem that I had is that I just was tired of just having all these unfinished pieces that I'd call unfinished pieces. So I just posted stuff online as like, look, this is the unfinished piece, but here is where it's at so far. And it never really ever got finished, right? Some of them, apart from the anime mashups that so basically I would go through this process of self-sabotaging and thinking about the worst and feeling like I'm an imposter. And there's just a lot of like just focus on this video didn't do this video went 1 million views, awesome, how can I do that again? Oh, I didn't do it again. And me just constantly checking notifications, that was where my hyper focus was going, just on the metrics, constantly just like looking at how my growth was going, looking at all the comments, all of the DMs that are coming in. There was one thing that happened to me when I was getting all these inquiries coming in when I blew up, right? There was all these DMs of people asking me like, how much do you charge and all this stuff, right? And because I was so overwhelmed, I didn't answer them. And then when I got to a place of like, okay, I'm going to answer these now because like, I ain't got a system, but I'm just a little bit more structured in terms of how I'm going to take on commissions now. I've got a little website here, and I've got ways to, like a paywall and so on and so forth. I went into the DMs on Instagram, and because I left it so long, all of the ones that were reaching out to me had gone. It's like what they do is I think they delete it after a certain time if it's in the request folder. So all those leads are lost. And this was when I was getting 1 million views per. Like I had about 3 or 4 videos at millions, like at that point. So you can imagine how much people were reaching out to me, right? I lost all those leads, and I remember just like the feeling of just like just the self-sabotage that I was doing to myself, and just knowing that I knew that if I was to have a system in place for this, that I would be able to have made probably 6 figures from art if I'd have just had a system, which I never had. I never had any system whatsoever. I was just very impulsive. I was always doom scrolling. So when I was doom scrolling, I got inspiration from the stuff that was on there, which is a good thing. in terms of inspiration, but I spent more time that it started to go from I was doing focus sessions of 2 hours drawing a day to maybe 2 hours of just looking at what other people are doing and how they're going viral and trying those things out on my content to go viral. So I was doing less of the actual drawings and more of the chasing. And that's what my hyper focus ended up being. And that's when I ended up burning myself out because I was just constantly trying to look for trends and trending sounds and all this stuff. The point where my content wasn't reflecting what it was doing before that grew my account in the first place. It started to be me doing reactions and it started to be me just doing a lot of stuff that really, like, if you came to my page, it was like, what's this guy actually do? Right? And you could just see the impulsivity in it. If you guys want to see the Instagram account, because it's still there, there's over 1,000 posts on there. You better see from up my undiagnosed, all of that's there. Everything on that page is when I was undiagnosed. As soon as I got diagnosed, I actually stopped posting on there, and you better see what type of posting I was doing there, and what type of way I was very reactive and impulsive there. So maybe I'll stick it in the description, right, so you can see. But yeah, so I was doing rumination quite a lot on this part of the journey. So what I wanted to do instead, obviously, which the turning point was, is when I found out I had ADHD, right? So I'd been burnt out. So anyone that's new here on this channel, I shared this story before, but I basically had a meltdown in between the time when I got diagnosed and when my art account blew up. So it was around spring of 2024. I was just trying to adapt to this new role that I was in as a manager, as well as the the art account that had grown and blown up, right? So I was doing a lot of hours. Like I was doing like early hour in the morning, like maybe 5 o'clock. I was waking up, bought my shift, just trying to get some drawings out, do that, and then I'll go to work, and then I'll just have this whole shift that was very like fast paced. Before when I was an artist, obviously I then graduated, right? So like I was promoted to a manager, but then I had all these responsibilities as a manager. For the managerial role, I was doing a very fast-paced, taking non-stop calls, and it was just a very, very fast-paced environment. Like I look at the screen where the calls are like waiting to come in, and it'll be like red with like 10 calls trying to come in, and we're just there like just finishing the call up, hang up, and next call's gonna come in. That was the level of work that I was doing before I got promoted. So I got promoted, obviously. Now, obviously, I had this new challenge, right? But what happened is that because I was trying to adapt to the two lifestyles I was leading, I ended up burning myself out, and I ended up being like I'm not gonna say suicidal because I wasn't, right, but I had the thought of it. Like it was like I don't know if I can do that. What have I signed up? There was just a thought of that, man, right? And call it what you want to call it, but I definitely was I was done, right? And I had a meltdown. I started snapping, like it was very out of character, and my partner crying, and it's just like therapy, right? So now what happened? Obviously, went to therapy. It's just a very quick one. I went to therapy. Then it turned out that I might have ADHD traits because of the ways that I was expressing some of the bottlenecks I was having. I was sharing it with her, and she was like, "It sounds like you got ADHD, right?" But there's a very thin line between, trauma therapy, and ADHD. So you should go and get a diagnosis. So I did that, right? And I got diagnosed with ADHD. Is the hyperactive trait, impulsivity, kind of like more procrastinate, like kind of stalling, executive dysfunction, that kind of side of things, right? So what happened is obviously the turning point was that I got late diagnosed, right? And the breakthrough moment for me is realizing that, yeah, I have ADHD and it makes sense, but ADHD wasn't actually the problem. That's the awareness that I had, is that ADHD wasn't actually the problem. ADHD was the thing that made me get as far as I got. It's just that I had lack of systems to help manage that, right? And it was just like Cyclops getting the visor, right? So what happened then, right? I started to have hyperfocus be a gift, my hyperfocus, and I was taken back by the times that I had hyperfocus doing the drawings, and I was doing like challenging myself where I'd like 100 days of anime character, and every day a request from someone, like they would say a comment of like, could you do Goku? Then I'll draw Goku, right? And then they'll tell me another one, and I'll do that, right? And I was doing that for like I was doing streaks like for one. That's how I started doing art, and that's how I started growing. So the request that I was replying to them, right, with my request. But I was in hyper focus at that, and I was doing really well with that. So that in terms of that, that was the gift part, right? But the curse part was that I didn't know how to create a system that could control, like the chaos that was taking place, which was like all of these requests coming in and like trying to create business and all this stuff, right? So I failed miserably in terms of the art because I didn't actually get to grow my art busy. And when I got diagnosed, I actually retired art. And I said to myself that there was a meltdown that I had, and I felt like and I don't want anyone else to have that same feeling that and I want to try and catch it sooner so that someone doesn't have to go through what I. So my impulsivity was that I was like, I'm just going to create a community. I just discovered school, this new platform, which was like very, very early stages. Like it looks very different now, and it's a lot more powerful. At the time, it was very just like beta, right? Just like it looked very overwhelming. I almost didn't stay there, right? Because it was just very overwhelming in the way it was distributed, right? But now they've worked things out, and it's a very good platform, right? So create the school community, and I said to myself, I'm going to call it ADHD, and I'm just going to share my journey of how I'm learning about myself and trying to build systems for myself, gamification, right? And the solution that I ended up coming up year of being undiagnosed, being diagnosed and wanting to obviously into the person that I want to become is four things, right? Four things stood out the most journey that got me to where I am today. And where I am today is that I've left my body. I'm basically way exactly what I look what I want my 24 hours to look like, and I'm in full control of my life right now. I have only got clients that I'm paying. Like I don't have any other expense that I have. I don't have anything else that is paying for my cost of living of my mortgage or anything. I went all in, right? But the reason why I'm so confident in what I'm doing, why I'm leading a life that I love, and was able to leave that, which felt like the only thing that I could do was be on a side hustle and do this at the same. I just had that mindset. What was the difference, right? So how was I able to use the hyperfocus things of my journey, leaving that environment that wasn't served? Now, just I'm living the life I want to lead. Like this is something I was dreaming about last year. Why? First thing is, as you can see here on the screen, is integrity, right? So I've done an integrity contract, and the integrity contract is a contract where it aligns with the things that you say that you want for your life. So I have had about 300 in the past year, and every time I jump in the stages of my journey, I just had free. I weren't charging nothing for a call, and I was spending 2 hours sometimes on a call, right? A lot of people would tell me what they like, yeah, man, I just wanted to do this project, and they'll tell me maybe 10 projects in one call, and I'm like, let's do 10 projects, right? So they were very impulsive, like I was. They were very just like, shiny object syndrome, and all this stuff was coming up. And I'm just seeing all these patterns from everyone I'm speaking to, right? And what I realized is that it's not really ADHD that's the problem. It's actually integrity is the problem. Like you don't have, and you're saying things and you're saying so much things and you're committing to so much things. Forget that you've said, and oh, how's those 10 projects going? What 10? And you probably changed to another 10, right? By the time I speak to you again. It's like, you just said you're going to do those things. You're not doing, what does that say about like and how people can trust you or keep telling them that, right? So I had a massive break. I lacked integrity with a past client when I was first starting my journey of creating this business, right? Because I had an offer that I thought I could deliver on, but I couldn't. I was very new to the space, so I didn't know how to package it, but I knew how to do it myself, but I just didn't know how to package it for someone else, right? But I was like, yeah, I did it for myself. Of course, I could do it for someone else, right? But then it turns out that it's a lot harder than I realized, so I had to refund that, right? But at the time, it was very a month funding someone, right? That it actually put me in a very sticky situation, especially that I left my 9 to 5, right? So what I did is I created this new program, which I do now with my clients, which is got some really good reviews so far, which you better see in the highlights of my Instagram tab and the client highlights. You see all the screenshots from there. But basically, I had an integrity, right? And that's the biggest lesson I learned from that client work that I took and refunding. I've only refunded, but it's like it was something that I knew that I had to refund or I wouldn't be where I am today. I'll be back in my 9 to 5 because that's all I'll have had to been doing is that work. And it wasn't a good exchange of my time, right, for the work that I had. So yeah, done the refund and then I ended up getting, I've got now 7 people in my program now, right? And it was because of that decision of refunding what someone and changing the program suited for specific helping people with ADHD management versus growing social media following, right? Because that's kind of what the model was at the time. I knew how to do that, right? But anyway, let me just digress, right? So it was an integrity problem that I had, right? Is I kept on saying I could do stuff, do that, do that. But then when it came down to doing it, it was so hard to follow through. But I'd overcommitted to a level where it's just like I've overpromised too much, right? And I learned that the hard way. And when something stinks, you learn very hard to make that mistake. And that's why it's so important for me now that when I'm doing client take it and I'm really clear on what I can deliver for someone. That's why I got right. So integrity, that was the first thing I had to work on was integrity, being careful about what I commit to. So someone might ask me something like, "Hey, bro, do you want to come out?" And I'm like, I have to think of it like, does this serve the journey right now, or is it something I'm going to need to do? And I'm more, it's more easy for me to say no to things. Like loads of people sending me requests for collaboration. People want me to go jump on their podcast. They know that I've got a big following, so that I can they could use my influence to grow their following. Like there's a lot of people that are trying to get an opportunity now to use my influence, right, to grow their following. And I'm just saying no because I'm just focused on clients to the point where I spoke to someone today and saying, "Oh, I'd just like great to collaborate one time, sometime at some point." It's like, that'd be great, but maybe in 2026, 2025 is for clients where my focus. And she admired my, the way that I dealt with and my limits that, and how I've basically been able to say no to opportunities. Like the reason why I'm doing that now is because I have to be careful about how I overcommit and focus on one thing at a time. So I'm going to leave more results if I just focus on only than if I'm juggling three or four things and having to now think about what am I going to say in that podcast and all this stuff. Like it's going to waste my time, right? I could be doing training for my clients, creating training, more in touch with them, speak to them more often, like so I had to make that decision, right? But that wasn't me before. I was very like, impulsive with my responses. Like, yeah, I was a yes man, right? I went from being a yes man to a no man, right? So yeah, focusing on one thing at a time is really important. And of course, the integrity contract helped me to do that, right? Because I know what my priorities, what my core areas are that I want to work. Four core areas are relationships. So obviously the relationships that I am really focused on, right? Clients, family, partner, my daughter, right? And there is also the vessel, which is my mind, body, and environment. And then there is my product and services, and that's whatever I'm focusing on around my products and services. So that is something that me and my mentor were working on, and I'm still working on now because I'm still part of his program or their program. Because they have created an amazing framework which is called Attract, Convert, Deliver, and that's what I focus on a daily basis. That's my money making activity for my product and services, and that's why I can say no to things because if it doesn't fit inside of Attract, Convert, Deliver, and then it's not the thing that I need to be focused. Attract for me is attracting people that could be the same as my clients. So like if they've got the same persona as my clients or they've got the same drive and they're basically the same as my clients, which you call IC, right? That's who I want to be speaking to right now. And that's who I want to be attracting. So my content has to attract those people, right? So that's all I do now is I think about how can I attract the person that I want to attract now, right? Which is the same clients that I have like Katie, Joanne, Angelica, John, Lisa, right? And these are people and Myra and Marcus, right? So that there's people like this who I want to attract, right? I don't want to attract people that are scarcity mindset. I don't want to attract people that are like, oh, I need to think about it. I need people that's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. How much is it? How do I pay? Right? That's kind of what I'm looking for right now. So I have to speak to those. So that's the attract part, right? And then the convert part is like, what activities am I doing to attract those people and convert them, right? So that's how I speak to people in the DMs. So I'm having conversations, and like the only way that I'm going to have a client is if I have a conversation with someone and then offer them to jump. So the only way I can have any client work is that. I just sit back and hope for the best. And that's why a lot of people use ads because they just feel like they don't want to do that work. But that's the work that's required for you to get client. Not on ads. They still don't, right? They get voice notes from me on IG. They get me really caring about what they're going through and how I can solve the problem. Spoke to someone yesterday, really nice guy, gave me a really bit of feedback on the call that I had with him. He really wants to join the program, but he says that just the money, just he can't do it. And I was like, look, bro, don't worry, man. End the world, mate, but just try and make it work. Like, if you want this, make it work. And it's just a really great conversation that we was having. And because I care, this isn't about the money for me, right? So conversations that I'm having to people, how I'm attracting the people that I want and then deliver is obviously what I do for my client work. So how am I going to deliver a piece of training for one of my clients that has this project that they want to work on? How can I help them as best I can with that? How can I be prepared for the next call that I'm going to have with them? And like, this is kind of what that is. So tell me where there's room for me to do collaboration and tell me where there's room any other right now. There is no. So all those three things that I just shared with you are my main priority right now for the rest of the year in terms of products and services. Of course, I would love to create a digital product, which I can do, but I'll do that after I've onboarded the last few clients for the year, like 4 or 5 people, right? And then I could start thinking about, okay, so maybe I could do a digital product for 2026, so that it could be like a low ticket, like 100 euros or something like that. right? So I can start thinking about that after, but now it's not the time for that, right? So that's the product and service aspect. And then there's, of course, the um, contribution, right? And contribution is like how I contribute to my community. People are posting in there, am I responding to the posts and am I, replying to comments? Other school communities that I'm a part of, am I contributing to those communities and just sharing some of my insights or, contributing to some of the posts in there or people that are sharing their wins, and that's contribution. Now, my integrity contract is basically based on these things. And as long as these things are nurtured every single day, I have a smile on my face. I feel very purpose driven. I feel content, right? Everything else outside of this that doesn't fit inside of that. That's why it's easy for me to say, right? Now, clarity hour is the second thing, right? The clarity hour is when I spend 1 hour of my day, right, on just being with myself. There's no phone involved, and the only time a phone's involved is if I'm using ChatGPT, which I'll show you in one of the videos exactly how I use it. It might be a video for next week. If you guys make a comment like, yeah, show us the clarity how exactly how you do it. I'll do a video on it, but it's based on demand. Like I won't really just do that randomly. Like just it's something that I'll do in the pipeline if someone want that, right? But basically the clarity hour, what I do, and it's changed over time, but what I do now to this day is I wake up in the morning, like today, I never touched my phone at all, and yesterday, I wake up and I go for clarity hour is a way of dealing with the morning where it's not reactive to my device, which is my phone, which is easy access of the gram, notification, like, just uh, news and negative like stuff that you could potentially, get sucked into. Instead of doing that for your dog, instead of doing that, get your shoes on, go for 15 minutes to 30 minutes of a walk, just be, just listen to some of the thoughts that are coming up. Nothing to do with like, your thoughts on anything that you've seen on your device. Like just surprised like how many ideas you have like that spark joy for you and just you get dopamine from just that visualization that you're doing of your day and like what you want the day, next 24 hours. So I'm just looking always like with my integrity contract in mind, think maybe I could do 1 hour of just being in the DMs and doing some voice notes today, part of the stations section of my task. Like and you just like you're sitting there and you're just marinating just some of the things that are related to integrity contract. Like how can I place a vote? Like this is from the book Atomic Habits, which I got here. So this is a very good book. Definitely ADHD friendly for sure. A lot of the stuff is like kind of for us, right? And one of it's like the identity, like you just placing a vote for who you want to become, right? I think I'll probably end up doing like a book breakdown of this at some point. But basically, how can I place a vote for the person that I want to become based on the integrity? Yeah, me doing voice notes is definitely like like and okay, so that's not I see. Oh, you see what I mean? It's like that then becomes the driving force for your day versus being reactive to the bullshit that you see online and oh yeah, here's a trending sound and oh like do this format and this will make you go viral and all this bullshit or this negative talk about different topics that have nothing to do with the integrity contract, man. It's got nothing to do with it, like, and we're just consuming all our time in that. Why? We don't have any purpose. We don't have a contract that holds us accountable to the actions that align with it. Just reacting to noise, not reacting to the integrity contract. That's the first thing I do with my clients. As soon as they're on doing an integrity contract, first week, and I do it for them. I create it for them. We do it together, step by step. Bang. Here you go. Now to start tracking the data of what stops stuff on this integrity, and then that's how we start a journey, right? So the clarity hour is just a way of you spending your first hour. Nothing else should come in for that. Like the only thing that you could potentially use in that clarity hour is ChatGPT. And the reason why I say that is because it's very good and it's got a voice mode that's incredible. I love talking to voice. I just say, hey man, how you doing, bro? Yeah, like and it knows already what my integrity contract is, right? So I'll say, yeah, man, like just wanna set the intentions for the day, man. So like, bro, like first thing, relationship. So I just wanna make sure that I shut for my daughter this morning. So, I've got an idea of this. And like, I just share all of the intentions for the day in that class, having a back. And I say to him at the end, listen, do you mind just breaking down everything we just spoke? And that's taking me, what, 15 minutes during the walk. And then by the time I get back home, I'm ready to start putting all that stuff into my calendar, like, and Google Calendar, and then start blocking all that stuff out and looking at how I can make all that work, right? So the clarity hour is really important because if you think about you right now, are you doing something similar to what I just said there? Or are you grabbing your phone and checking social? Even check your feed. I don't follow anyone. So my feed just filled with like all the stuff that I post about. It shows me stuff that's similar to the things that I post about. It's giving me, it's like, yeah, Mike is probably gonna like this because that's what he's kind of being reinforcing on his page, right? And because I don't follow anyone, it doesn't show me anything from any of these bullshit accounts. I want to see your shit. right? I don't want to be consumed by your shit. But if I happen to see it on my feed and I like it, cool, right? But I'm not constantly just going through my whole day looking at what other people are doing. Oh yeah, I could do that. I could copy their trend and copy that format. No, it's a waste of my time. I know who I am and I know my experience. Unpack my experience. Shit, that's it, right? Then you've got the FBI journal. So the FBI journal is a way of tracking for 5 to 10 minutes of your day. So like maybe 5 minutes in the morning after your clarity hour, you're just basically saying what you intend, one or two things you want to do today, conquer. Maybe it depends on what type of person you are, like in terms of like it has to be in relation to the contract, right? Nothing else. Like we're just talking about the contract. It might be a specific thing around relationships that you really want to work on for that day. Just have that as like, yeah, this is the main thing for that. That's the main thing for Vessel right now. Just go for a couple of walks a day. The main thing for the product services is just do my money making activities. Like bang, like you just use the journal to set your intentions for the day, right? And what friction you had the day before, what blessings you had the day before, right? But then at the end of the day, what friction came up from the day that you had that maybe stopped if there was, right? What bless your intent, right? Or what was your intentions that day, like, right? So just a very simple exercise you could do at the start and begin day is working wonders for my clients, man. They're happy with it. I've got a GPT for them as well. So I've created a GPT for that, which has been very helpful for them. And then number four is the ADHD GPS. Right. So the ADHD GPS and the acronym for GPS is Goal Project or Pro SIG. This has been changed over time, right? But the original place that I got this idea from is Ali Abdal. I saw a video of him talking about he's got like a program. He's got something right on off around productivity, and he was talking about a GPS, and he goes goal, land, system, right? And then even my mentor mentioned that he also has one as well, which is goal, problem, solution, right? But this is my version, right? And it's gone through different iterations, which was its first goal project system, then it's goal project schedule, now it's goal project signal. Right, and just based on my journey, I've just been able to see how it makes sense. And then underneath all of these is an acronym of ADHD, and that's why it's called ADHD. But I'm not going to go into that now because I just think it's just like that's a whole new another video, right? But what you need to know is that I create goals for a week that have projects attached, and I have my way of understanding what the right each day that aligns with that and making sure that that goal gets right. So I'll do a whole separate video on that because I think that's just literally a whole to go too long. So the outcome, of course, is that I live a purpose-driven life, right? And once you have a visor on, everything changes. It's like this is the perspective, and you just need to understand that your perspective is what's keeping you where you are, right? I had this guy in the DMs that literally yesterday I blocked because he was trying to, oh, you're just scamming people and all this stuff. And I'm like, where's the scam? How could I be scamming something? Doesn't make sense. But he was like very, very like just like really bad energy, man. And he was talking about like, what I'm doing is a scam, da da da, right? And I was just like, someone that's very same stuff. I will charge. You didn't come across salesy or nothing. Just really got a lot of value from you and all this stuff. And I'm just saying, what I love doing this because I love doing. So I had the side of me that was just like so pissed off at this guy, what he said that knows nothing. Someone that was on a call with me that got to see who I am, how I express myself on a call with him, and just sharing with him how I can help, just give him a bit more perspective on how he should approach life. Now that he's late diagnosed like me, very similar situation, and he just wants to transform that. And I'm just like there, just trying to help him through it, right? And there's people that can't see that, and there's people that are just going to talk shit. But guess where they sit? Guess where they land in this 80 to 20? Guess where they are? They're here, right? This guy is tuning in, and this is probably going to be one of my videos, right? Where I want you to say, I'm going to tell you how to protect your. He's tuning in on a radio station frequency, and he's come across a channel that he doesn't like, and he's expressing that he doesn't like. At the same time, all he needs to gets to something that. But what people like to do on social, come into other people's place and space. Someone told you to come onto my page, right? Like there's very simple actions that they can take. Is they can block me if they don't like my content. Scroll. It's very straightforward, but people like to have an opinion in environments that have nothing to do with them and their perspective. Like it doesn't make sense, right? So for me, that's noise, and that should be 20% of any attention I'm going to give it. Is 20%. If I'm doing more than 20% of, and I shouldn't even be doing 20%, it should just be adios, right? That there was an adios, like just remove it from the brain, get rid of it. It's taking up real estate, right? But when we get rejection sensitive, we start bringing too much emphasis on that, and it starts becoming 80%. Right? And that energy level, what does that leave us? Oh, me and that there. He's now transferred some of that energy to me that is definitely not going to help me to pursue my journey of what I want to achieve on this journey, which is to help 1 million ADHD transform their relationship with ADHD, right? If I sit there arguing with him back and forth, it doesn't serve that, right? So it doesn't need any of my attention. It needs to be in this section and a very small percentage of that, because there are things that I can put in 20% that are noise as well, that are aligned with what I'm doing right now, like collaborations, like I said to you. That's in the 20% because I will do it, but I just won't do it now, right? I can't consume that now, but it is in the 20% of what I desire to do in the future. But then for someone like that who was talking shit, he gets 1%. Like, not even that. You shouldn't get any percent, but he's gonna get some percent because I'm just pissed off and I'm passionate about what I do, and I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are, right? I'm just getting a bit like, into my ego a little bit in like for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then after I realize, Mike, remember why? Remember the reason why you remember you want to take your life. Remember that? Yeah, he weren't there when you was trying to, like when that was happening, right? And your mission. He weren't there when you were sitting there writing down your mission statement. Was he doesn't know that concept. So with that being said, put him in the bin, right? And this is signal. This is signal, right? So this is where your focus should be lying. At least 80% bare minimum there. And it's going to take a while for some people because, we're sensitive. And yeah, it's just one of the traits that we have. And I'll talk about that trait at some point and I'll unpack that one. But, we have empathy, man. We're empaths, right? But that results in RSD as a curse. Right, the gift. That's a whole nother video. So if you want to know how I'm going to unpack that one, right, and then subscribe so you get notified when I do something like that, right? So key lessons, right? Key lessons from this is create more, consume less. As soon as I had more of 80% of this and at least 20% of this, my life changed. I'm now in a very good position. I'm making more than my 9 to 5. Still going to take on another 4 or 5 people this year, and that's going to double, triple maybe what I was making, right? In my 9 to 5 and honor your word, right? Need to understand that our words are very powerful. And if we don't shut for ourselves and we say, oh, it's like your mate telling you, yeah, man, like let's go to have a drink tomorrow. Like, yeah, sure, man. What time? 8 o'clock. Yeah, cool, man. I'll see you there. And then he's just there waiting at the coffee shop for you, and you're just not there. Oh, no worries, you forgot, right? No worries. Let's book another one. Like, let's get another one in. Like, do you want to do it tomorrow instead? Yeah, yeah, cool, man. Tomorrow. Don't shop. You do that 3 or 4 times. Just think about that relationship you're gonna have with that friend, right? Like, you need to just start saying no to things. Like, don't say yes all the time. Like, look at if you can actually accomplish that. Like, look at what you're committing to. Like, you're making a commitment to things that you don't even know. And because we're time blind, and that's a whole nother video again. Time blindness, man. Show you how to deal with that as well. So like, there's lots of videos I've got coming for you guys, man. Like, just like I said, if you want to learn more, just subscribe, right? But the third thing is start with signal. Right? Like I said to you, the first hour, just make it be all about signal. You can remix it to the way that you want to do it. Just change it up. Like you don't have to do what I'm doing. Like maybe you want to do meditation. Maybe you want to read a book. I don't know. You're going to do something different. And like a book's okay because it's not a screen. Like, I think the key thing is just not having a screen as the first thing you do. And yeah, a book's fine, meditation's fine, breath work's fine, going for a walk is fine. Just drinking some water, movement in general, getting some sunlight. Those are things that you just need to start your first out with your partner. Like, love you. Like, man, like, come on, man. This stuff's free, man. Like, it's stuff you don't have to pay for, and you're gonna get dopamine from all those things I just said, right? Just yeah, just like look after yourself for the first hour, man, and it's gonna carry out for the rest of your day. So start with six. Anyway, if you feel like, ADHD's been a curse at some point on this journey somehow, and you feel like you want to make a change with that, I do have a description. It's a free. It has the ADHD set course in there. Right? This was one of the insights that I shared in well, a bit more detail on this channel. There's more insights in that you can get for free. And there's also members you can obviously interact with that might be in the same region that you can connect with that are like-minded like you. And if you're someone who wants to make an impact online, want to make an impact in general, right? Through your ADHD story, I do help that. And that's what my clients are going through with me right now is the ADHD reset program, right? And there's a link in the description if you want to explore whether you are fit for working with, right? And like I said earlier, I do only take it for the rest of this year because of obviously there's September, October, November, and I kind of want December to be for my family. So that's where I'm at. The rest of this year, I'm only going to take maybe, I don't know yet the number because it just depends on the type of, the level of work that I'm going to get with someone that joins the program. That will be determined on whether I'm going to 4 people, 6 people, like it all depends on the person I'm going to be taking on, right? And yeah, that's going to be me for the rest of the year, and I'm probably likely to stop taking people in mid-September. I'd say that's ideal. September, just saying like that doors closing on that, right? So if you're interested in working with me, you think that you like to learn from me and go through this journey, there's a way to book a call with me. We just see if you're fit for the program. Apart from that, take care, guys.